Hello and welcome to another World of Warplanes video with me, Sir 10 Death. I recently did a kind of video review and is it worth the gold for each of the previous two bombers available in the game, the Blenheim 4 and the Douglas 26A Invader. And today we're looking at this one, the Tier 8 Russian one, the Myasishchev RB-17, and asking, is it worth investing in? It's available in the EU store for the next 2 or 3 days, so it's about £35, so it's quite expensive. Is it worth it? I've just bought mine. I've done my usual thing. I've put some pretty paint job on it. Having a look at it here, looks quite pretty. Do like how it appears to. Yeah, it looks nice that in the hangar. And yep, just checking here. I've got on here my thing for restarting engines and first aid kit and fire extinguisher, and I've got a thing for improving marksmanship. Hopefully, a thing that stops AA guns targeting me as easily, and an engine boost. And I'm going to jump into a game, and we're going to see how this actually pans out and answer the question for you all: is it worth investing in or not? Naturally, the first thing worth noting is it depends on whether you enjoy bomber play at all. If you haven't actually played a bomber yet, it's a little bit like the World of Warplanes equivalent of playing artillery in World of Tanks, in that it's a much more sedate play style. You float around at high altitude and you get a different map view, and you drop bombs down on the installations below and try not to get shot down. So we're just getting into the game here, and I'm going to give this the first run out and see whether I get any joy or not. I do have a little bit of experience playing bombers, but of course Tier 8 is more challenging. So I will see what happens here then. So let's talk about some of the stats while we're getting into the game then. It's Tier 8 Russian bomber, and as such, because it's high up the tech tree, well, the first thing I'm noticing here is it's a bit sluggish in the turn. You'd expect that from a giant behemoth of a plane. It's got 1500 hit points, which means that, you know, should you get into a bit of a scrape, hopefully you can get out of dodge quite easily. Now you see I've spawned at about 2,000 meters. I'm going up straight away to sort of 2,500 meters, and I'm approaching the first installation. So I'm just lining up my bomb sights, and when it goes yellow, you can drop. There you go. Now it carries 18 at a time, but you notice how it's dropping them in batches of 6. That means it's basically blanket bombing. It's hitting a huge area. So you're not really trying to hit a single target with a bomb. You're just going to basically drop a whole heap of them. Oh, that's nice. Straight away I've got myself a bit of damage done there. So it means you don't have to be pinpoint accurate. Now I'm just while I'm reloading, I'm getting a sense here the reload's quite slow on this, but that's probably quite normal. So I'm just going to sort of boost away a little bit and take my altitude up to nearer 3,000. And then turn around, and I'm just approaching the second installation now. If you've seen my previous videos on bombing, the strategy I employ is to try and line up my shots in a row so I can drop some here. Let's just drop them there. First 6 there, and second 6 on this installation. Line up with the next one. That'll do. Yep. Oops. This one. Yep. Third 6 here, and then I just drop out of bomber view because I can't do anything for a while anyway. I'm doing some more damage to the ground. So far nobody's really noticed me. Now I've noticed here that this particular installation is, however, gone a little bit red. It looks like the enemy are trying to take this one as well, so at the very least I'm preventing them from easily taking it while doing my bits of damage. And you see anti-aircraft guns going off all around me here. I'm taking little bits of damage, so I'm just sort of accelerating and turning around. I'm already getting a feel for this because it is so slow to turn. You've got to get quite far away from the installation to get into a nice straight line for an attack run again. So you've got to make sure you move well away. The other previous ones, the Douglas Invader and the Blenheim, you could almost turn around and go straight back and drop bombs on them again. But this one here is a lot more sluggish. So it's worth noting that its manoeuvrability is challenging. It'll make you work a bit harder. Right, now that I'm getting a little bit of a feel for the plane, yeah, I've just passed the 2,000 combat points mark. I'm getting a feel for it now, and I'm getting the feel that what I need to do here is boost away. And as I'm watching the bomb reload bar in the bottom centre of my screen there, when it gets to sort of around about now, about a third of it left, is a good time to start turning around and go back again. By the time you line up your shots, your bombs will be ready again. I am finding that flying above 3,000 meters seems to be keeping me from any real trouble so far. I've taken a few hits from AA guns, but I haven't got any heavy fighters trying to trace me down there, so this is a good sort of height to fly at. And yep, lining up again here, and neither us nor the enemy are successfully capping this area yet, but at the very least I'm stopping them from doing so. And I am trying to, it has gone blue a little bit at the minute, I'm just trying to keep working on this, trying to swing. Yeah, it's quite tough work to make it swing all the way across here to get these bombs on target. The advantage is, as I said earlier, you haven't got to be pinpoint with the accuracy, you've just got to drop your big load of bombs and hope you get a bit lucky with them, which I seem to be getting, because I've just passed 4,000 combat points now. Got myself the grade 5 bomber reward already. That's doing pretty well. Speed-wise, you see it's pretty fast, this plane. It has got a 60-second boost, which is very nice. So if I do get into a bit of trouble, a bit of a scrape from a fighter or something, I at least have a chance to outrun it. Gunnery-wise, it's got a 23mm gun front and rear, but at tier 8, to be honest, you don't really want to be getting into engagements with enemy fighters or heavy fighters. If you can possibly avoid it, that would be an absolute last resort, unless you see that they are on a tiny amount of hit points and you can polish them off quite easily. So just back, flying over the same installation again. So as I said earlier, if you've not done bombing before in this game, you can see what it's all about. It's very much about floating around at altitude and just, well, literally dropping the bombs on the installations below and, yeah, trying to take areas for your team. At the minute, our team's a little bit ahead in this game, but it could still swing either way. We've done almost at the 6,000 mark now. Things are going pretty well. I'm getting a nice feel for the plane. At the minute, I'm starting to wonder, is it worth the gold or not? I mean, I enjoy bomber play, so from a personal point of view, I like it. But is it better than the £6 cost in UK money Blenheim, or the sort of £12 cost Douglas? Not really. I suppose the real proof of the pudding would be at the end of this game and see how we come out in terms of credits, in terms of experience, because for playability it's very much like playing the other two. I mean, it carries 18 bombs instead of a different payload, but other than that you play it in a very, very similar way. You just fly around and drop bombs. And so far I've found that both the Blenheim's a nice plane to play and the Douglas is great fun. I've thoroughly enjoyed playing the Douglas. It's a lovely plane to play. I do like this as well. I'm enjoying it so far. The question is whether it's worth actually paying the significant increase in price to jump up to tier 8, because the tier 8 planes are a lot dearer than tier 6 ones. So I mentioned earlier about the hit points. We've talked about the manoeuvrability being somewhat lacking, and you've got to really try and swing the plane around with plenty of time to get lined up. I am finding here that flying above 3,000 meters seems to be working pretty well. Speed wise, it's quite a quick plane for being a big... Now this is an example. What I'm trying to do here is to see if I can swing the plane around above a target, and I really can't. I'm trying to get the plane around to get onto these other targets, and look at this. No matter how much I try, because it's got such a huge turning circle, I simply cannot get the bombs back on target where I want them to go. Now I can drop them back this area again, that's fine, but those AA guns that are just off to the left hand side of the screen now, no matter how much I try and work the plane around, swing it, can I get there, can I... Some would say I could have dropped them there because of the blanket bombing idea. They might have hit them, but they might not. We're at nearly 7,000 combat points now. I would say the bombs are pretty effective. They do their job okay. They're doing decent amounts of damage. The reload's a little bit on the slow side, but once you've adapted to knowing that you just need to move out of the way for a little while, it's not too bad. I haven't had an opportunity yet to try either the forward or rear guns. And to be honest, you know, when you're playing a bomber, as I said earlier, it's a bit of a last resort. You don't really want to be engaging in dogfights unless you can really help it. The Douglas is a little bit different. The tier 6 American one, actually its guns are pretty phenomenal. It can do a job, but I don't really want to go looking for fights against tier 8 fighters or multi-role planes with this if I can possibly avoid. Oh, I've just been taken down there. Oh, there's actually a heavy fighter just come and just popped me out of the sky. So it just shows there that even though I had 1,500 hit points, I had a few hundred of them left, and I have just been decimated. Luckily, it's just before the squall lines come down, so I'm going to get to respawn, which is very good. The game seems to be well in the bag. We seem to be winning by a long way here. I suppose one of the real advantages this plane would be good for, those daily missions that pop up in the top left hand side of your hangar each day. Sometimes you get ones that say, you know, something like destroy 10 ground installations, and naturally to get the tokens you've got to do that with low tier planes, mid tier planes and high tier planes. So if you want to actually destroy ground installations at tier 8 or above, this would be perfect for doing that, but it's not necessarily a reason to go and spend sort of 40 euros thereabouts. So yeah, the game's winding towards a close now. I'm very much feeling like I've done my part in the game, and I said earlier, you know, I've said in my previous videos, it's a very sedate play style. Playing bombers is just floating around. I like it personally, but if you're one of these people that despises artillery in World of Tanks or despises aircraft carriers in World of Warships, you probably won't like bombers in World of Warplanes. it's a bit of a Marmite thing. Love it or hate it. Yeah, so it's fun. I quite like it. I quite like how it plays. It's just a little bit more sluggish, but once you've adapted to its sluggish nature, here's an example. I want to get lined up on a few installations here, so I'm having to actually intentionally fly the other way so I can then swing right around. Then even then I can't get lined up with that first target, so I've got to go for the second one. You do need to really think ahead about where you want to be dropping your bombers, but I've got a target here. Yep, and there's the grade 4 bomber award. And I've got another target here. This is what you want to do ideally, is get 3 targets in a pretty much straight line, so you haven't got to try and shift the whole fuselage back and forth. There's the 100% superiority, so the game's going to be over right now. There we go. So overall, finished second on the team, can't complain at that. What do we do here? Then we've got the supporting fire award. Yep, that's pretty good. The swooper award. This is actually for assisting. So all the time when I was talking about the gunners not necessarily doing very much, that rear gunner must have been just chipping away at various aircraft and things, because I am getting things for helping destroy aerial targets as well. Oh, that's quite a nice one. Not had that one before. It's the 4th class bomber award, 2nd overall. Let's just jump into the hangar and cut to the chase and see, is it really worth it? A lot of awards. I suppose you'd call this a good... Ooh! Now, when you pull the better side of $250,000 credits in a single game, you have to then make an argument for an aircraft. I mean, I've enjoyed it. If you like bomber play, it probably is worth it, but it is quite a high price. Yeah, I will play it a lot, and I'll enjoy playing it a lot. If you like bombers, go for it, spend the money. If you haven't enjoyed, I would say if you haven't tried one before, get the Bristol Blenheim first, try that, see if you enjoy bomber play, and if not, then bug out of paying this high price for the tier 8. As ever, I hope you've enjoyed the video. I'll keep them coming. Do please share and subscribe, and a happy new year to all as well. Thanks very much. Goodbye.